Hello, friends. What you are about to listen to is a teaser of a new follow-up that I put out for patrons today. If you want to listen to the full thing, you can do that right now by going and signing up for Patreon at patreon.com/thenuggetclimbing. There's a link right there in your podcast app. And this is a conversation that I had with Natasha Barnes. Natasha, of course, was on the podcast last year in episode 32, and then this is actually my second follow-up with her. Natasha is a power lifter. She's a strength coach and a rehabilitation coach. And like myself, Natasha used to be really small and really skinny and was really good at thin little crimpy rock climbs, but didn't have a lot of strength and couldn't do any of the powerful and steep and thuggy climbs that she would run into out in Yosemite Valley. And since becoming a powerlifter, she's gotten way stronger. She's now come back to climbing with a lot more muscle mass and is climbing really hard again. And I was really curious to talk with her about that in this conversation. So we talked about how each of us has changed as climbers from gaining muscle mass and how we've gotten stronger. What is different? We both feel like we're kind of climbing in a new body compared to our former selves. And we talked about how each of us kind of stacks up against our former selves. I asked Natasha how she uses the tension board and how she mixes that in with her powerlifting training. She talked about how powerlifting has made her a more patient athlete, how she has been retraining her finger strength now that she's climbing at a heavier body weight. We talked about progressive overload and the difference between encouraging adaptation and trying to force adaptation, and why we want to stay away from trying to force our body to adapt. We talked about how Natasha combines hangboarding with climbing on the moon board and tension board. And we talked about separating performance from training. And we each talked about some of our goals. I shared a little bit more about my climbing in Rocky Mountain National Park this summer and some of the things that I've noticed that are different now as a climber. And then I shared some of the things that still feel a little harder than they did when I was lighter, that haven't quite caught up yet, and some goals of mine and some things I want to work on and some specific climbs that I want to do to try to prove to myself that I've really broken through an old plateau and am climbing at a higher level. So you'll get some of that in this teaser. I hope you enjoy it. And if any of that sounds interesting, there's a lot of good stuff in the full episode. The full episode's about an hour and 16 minutes. Again, it's available right now. If you want to sign up, please enjoy this teaser with Natasha Barnes.
Hey.
Hi.
How's it going, Blondie?
Good. Trying new things.
Love it.
How are you?
I'm good. I just got back from the gym, actually.
Look at you. Look at your hair.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen the power mullet pigtails.
This is where we're at these days.
It's getting long.
It's good. Well, I have extensions in my hair.
Oh, you have extensions in your hair. Wow.
Yeah.
Fancy.
My real hair. My real hair is like this long.
Okay.
Are we recording a podcast right now?
We're doing it. Recording a podcast.
I didn't know if we were going to like record one or if we were just going to talk about it.
Oh, okay.
Either way is fine with me.
Okay, let's just go for it. I have a thrown together plan based on our Instagram conversation. So,
okay.
Yeah. But first off, how you been?
Pretty good. Yeah. Climbing more than the last time we talked, I think.
Yeah, I think so. That was over a year ago. No, we did a follow-up more recently than that, but that was a long time ago.
Oh, was it really that long ago? I feel like time is not a thing anymore. Yeah, I think that was like in the middle of the pandemic, maybe?
Right. Which...
I was climbing because I had my tension board. When was that?
Right. I'm looking it up right now. I'm being the person right now that I'm being the annoying podcast host that doesn't even remember when he talked to people.
I mean, how are you supposed to remember? You have so many conversations.
I actually do have so much more empathy for people that do this all the time. I'm like, oh yeah, it's actually really hard to keep track of it all.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even keep track of my clients sometimes. They're like, oh yeah, I saw you back in April for a finger injury. I'm like, let me just look that up on my computer because I don't remember anything about what we talked about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool that like we can see each other now. Normally
I know.
I'm like pacing around my house talking to you though. I'm like a pacer. I'm like a pacer when I'm on the phone.
Okay. We talked on April. I published our last follow-up on April 1st, 2021. So we probably talked in like mid-March.
Yeah, it was like a year.
Yeah, like 8 months or something. No, that was 2021.
Oh, 2020.
Yeah, and then our first conversation was like last summer, 2020.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, yeah, you have progressed quite a lot in your climbing since we first talked, which is so cool. And it's been fun to kind of follow you and see how that story has evolved, because the first time we talked, you didn't sound like you never wanted to climb hard again, but you sound a little bit indifferent about it. You're like, I'm way excited about this other thing. I feel healthier. I feel happier. And I climb kind of here and there, and I can still kind of throw down, and that's good enough. But it seems like you've made it a little bit more of a priority, and you're climbing really hard again. So
yeah, it's been fun.
That's
I'm still
awesome.
kind of like ambivalent about it in a way. Like, I mean, I'm just climbing this hard because I am. Like,
okay.
I was actually thinking about it today. I was like, I don't know, maybe if I like cared about it more, or like I felt like my everything depended on it, like maybe I would climb harder. But I don't want it to feel like that.
Yeah,
because that's how it used to feel, like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people can probably relate, like when your climbing matters so much.
Yeah, totally. So I'll just kind of frame this conversation and what I want to talk about today. And there's a couple aspects of it. I'm really curious to hear what you've been doing and how you've been rebuilding climbing strength, because it seems like it's come back quickly. You're climbing really hard again in this totally new body as a powerlifter. And you had a recent post like contrasting you now versus your old fighting weight, and it was mind-blowing, the difference. And I'd love to dig into all that. But yeah, you and I were talking recently after I sent Eternia, which for people listening, they'll have heard me talk about it, but I was just trying this boulder problem in Rocky Mountain for over a month, put a lot of days into it. It's a big time investment hiking up there and moving the pads and everything. And it's V11. It's my second one. I've done 2 this season, my first 2 ever. And it's a style, Eternia in particular, is a style that I've always struggled with. And it's kind of maybe the first thing I've climbed since this episode of disordered eating and then regaining weight and being heavier than before, where I'm like, I don't think I could have done that before. This feels like new territory, and it's really exciting. So anyway, you reached out after that. You were super kind and said some really nice things. And we were talking about doing another follow-up, and you had this idea of, this part of the story of disordered eating and then coming back out of it, gaining weight, and then moving forward and gaining even more weight and emphasizing strength over weight. We never hear about that actually working, I guess. We never hear the whole story. We hear people share their stories of struggling with disordered eating, getting into a really dark place, maybe feeling really emotionally unhealthy, physically unhealthy, having physical, ramifications from that. And then what very often happens is they can't sustain it, and they reach a point where they're forced to make a hard decision and they regain their health, but they're not necessarily like back to climbing their best at a heavier weight. So it's not always a very hopeful story, is it? Right? It's like, I feel happy again, I feel healthy again, but maybe they were climbing harder when they were lighter. So it's hard to draw a lot of inspiration from that. And you reached out and you're like, it'd be so cool to share this conversation of like, us being two examples of this actually works. If you emphasize strength and prioritize that and fuel your body appropriately, you can really surpass those plateaus that you've had in the past. And that's playing out for both of us. So anyway, those are the things that I'm excited to talk with you about.
I'm excited to talk about that too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really curious how you've been integrating this tension board and climbing training with your powerlifting, because I know powerlifting's still your sport and your priority. And you're climbing remarkably hard, given that it's just kind of this back burner thing that you do for fun. So yeah, I'd love to hear how you mix those things and then how things have changed, how your training has changed, or how your climbing feels, like what's different now that you're coming back with this healthier, stronger body, and how that's affected your climbing.
Yeah. Right now I'm sort of balancing. Normally, like my priority is powerlifting, and I was climbing maybe like once a week for a while just to climb. So now I'm sort of balancing both. So I've taken my powerlifting down to one less day a week. So now I'm powerlifting 3 days a week, and I'm climbing like 2 to 3 days a week. One of those sessions is usually like a pretty easy like volume day. So that's kind of what my training schedule looks like right now. Although I did sign up for a powerlifting meet in Feb. So we'll see what happens. I might go back to 4 days a week for powerlifting before that happens. But yeah, it's been good. Just through increasing the frequency of my climbing sessions, I've been able to just get so much stronger in climbing. Like, everything's coming back pretty fast, and I'm not doing anything complicated. Like, I'm literally just increasing my frequency of climbing. 2 of those sessions are like kind of limit sessions or projecting sessions. And then one of those sessions is just like a really easy volume session. Doing a little bit of hangboarding as well. And the moonboard's been really fun to climb on. I feel like that's like a whole new thing for me in the last maybe like couple of months that I feel like has been really fun to train on and has helped me get a little bit stronger even.
It's really different from the tension board, huh?
It's different. Yeah, it's for sure. It's different. And I don't know if it's just the way that I have, well, the holds are definitely different, but also I don't know if it's the way that I have my tension board set up, because right now I have it set up in my backyard. And I don't know if anyone has seen it. You can probably find a picture of it on Instagram or something, but it's like right up against my house and the fence in my backyard. So there's really no room on either side of the board. So I feel like I don't really like jump that much on my tension board as much as I do on the moon board. And I feel like because it's like so close to the sides, like you don't really want to swing out that much. And also the holds just don't really lend themselves to like jumping super hard for stuff, because there's nothing like super end cut like on the moon board. So it's just been like a different style. The gym by my house has a moon board, so I've been climbing on that a bunch too, which has been really great. And yeah, it's been really fun. My strength is coming back pretty fast without really doing anything complicated. And I'm definitely noticing that like my strengths and weaknesses are so different now, like so different. Like I was just climbing I went out climbing last Friday to this area that's around here. And I noticed the climb that I was like projecting, like I would not have gotten on it before. It was like really steep, really powerful, has like a sloper crux move on it, extremely like powerful and body tensiony, and like one crimp that's kind of just like an intermediate, and that's it. And I was like, I would have not gotten on this before. Like this, I would have looked at it and been like, no. And like, let me find like the crimpy thing, because I would not, it's too powerful. And I was like, whoa, I can actually like do this stuff now. It's pretty crazy.
You think you couldn't have before?
I think I would have had a much harder time because I wasn't strong. And like some climbs, it's like you have to be strong for them. It doesn't matter how strong your fingers are. If you're not strong enough to do the moves or hold the positions, like you're just not going to do it. You know, you can't crimp your way out of it or something like that. So, which is what I would do before. Just find me all the crimpy problems.
Right. Yeah, totally. So. Can you do that stuff now? Where are you at with that? With like the crimping and pimping, the really thin fingery stuff?
Still can do that stuff. I find myself less drawn to it just because like,
Yeah.
it's not as interesting to me anymore. It's like a crimp ladder. Like, I don't know. I'm good. Like, I would rather do something that has like more interesting movement on it. That's less painful. I don't know. Like crimp ladders are kind of like, especially if they're really tiny crimps, you're kind of just like squeezing the shit out of them, and they're just like pain tolerant.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm not drawn to that kind of stuff as much anymore, just because it's not as interesting to me anymore. Like I think before it was because I was good at that stuff and like I could do things at a hard grade with holds like that on it. But I just find that I'm also just drawn to different kinds of climbing now.
I'm curious, are your 2 project sessions per week both on the boards? Are you doing any like commercial gym climbing, or is it just board stuff?
It's a little bit of both. I've been ending up on the boards a little bit more, but I still will like project in the gym as well.
Okay.
Yeah. And actually it's pretty interesting to climb at the gym with friends. Like actually I had a session at the gym a couple of weeks ago with some friends who are taller than me. So if just in case people don't know, like I'm 5'2", I've got a +2, but I'm 5'2". I'm pretty small. And so most people that I climb with are actually like a bit taller than me. And I was noticing that I was doing powerful moves, like reachy, powerful moves. And my friends who were taller than me were not able to stick those moves at first. But wow. I could just pull in these big positions and like pull these big moves with heel hooks and stuff like that. And that was the easy part for me. And my friends were like, how the hell did you do that? Like, and it would take them a while, like projecting that move to like stick it. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm like really good at that now. That's crazy. Like, I didn't even think that was the hard part of the climb, but like, it's just kind of fun to like see like how much what I'm good at has changed.
Yeah.
Just like you were saying, you were noticing like some of the styles that you're picking are different too.
Totally. Yeah. It's so interesting. I can really relate to that. And it's really fun. There's kind of this, it's like discovering yourself as a climber again, you know? I feel like this whole year has been kind of like that for me. It's like, who am I? What do I enjoy? It's all changing and shifting. And like you, it's not all positives necessarily. Like I'm definitely noticing different strengths and things that are stronger than ever. I think for me, there are still things that are lagging behind. And that's something I wanted to talk about or share for people from my own experiences. Like I've been kind of comparing myself now with my probably all-time peak. There was 2 seasons, early 2017 and then again in early 2018 when I've probably been my absolute strongest ever. And that 2017 period was when I had this like best week of climbing I've ever had. I had this amazing trip to Bishop and sent a bunch of V10s in a week and did a V9 first try that unfortunately I had tried years before, not technically a flash, but just had this amazing trip and nearly did a V11 my last day. That was the low start to one of these climbs. I'll just say what that was. I did a standing kill order, which is a V10 in the Happy Boulders, and I almost did the sit kill on site, the V11 that same day. And I had a finger injury after that. The next year, I was able to return to that previous peak, that same level of strength. I kind of know that because I had a home wall at the time and I was repeating a lot of the hardest boulders I'd ever done as these kind of benchmarks. And right after that 2018 peak is when I really got lost down that rabbit hole and started chasing the weight goal. So now that's kind of, I guess the high point that I compare myself to. And I don't know if I could go back and have as successful of a trip to Bishop. I mean, it's probably unfair comparison because my entire training winter was targeted towards that trip and it was very specific. But I think I'm still lagging behind a little bit with crimp strength in particular, like small hold crimp strength in particular. I don't know if my finger strength in that specific small crimpy style is as good relative to my new body weight as it was then. But I still feel really optimistic and motivated to stay on the path that I'm on because I've been blown away at how far that strength has come. And I don't think it's hit a plateau. I don't think it's anywhere near its limit. And, watching Matt Foltz do Hypnotized Minds kind of helped me. That was one final piece, like, okay, I'm on the right path. If that guy can get strong enough to climb on those holds, then I have way more potential here. So yeah, that's been really exciting. But yeah, I wonder, like, how does it feel like comparing yourself to that older version of yourself? I'd love to hear you recount your weight at the time and what your fighting weight was and what some of your best climbing accomplishments were at the time, and just like how you think you stack up now. And I know it's different because you have totally different priorities, but I just think it'd be interesting to explore that.
Yeah, it's so different now. Yeah, I guess. So, I mean, I've been as small as 99 pounds and as large as 162. So it's quite a bit of like weight change.
That is so wild.
Pretty wild. I never in my wildest dreams back then would I have thought that I could get that heavy.
Hey friends, thanks for listening to that teaser. Once again, if you want to listen to the full episode, it's available right now. The full thing's about 1 hour and 16 minutes. We covered a lot of really good questions, and Natasha had a lot of really good insights. If you want to hear the whole thing and support the podcast, head over to thenuggetclimbing.com and click on support the podcast. That'll take you to Patreon, or you can go straight to patreon.com/thenuggetclimbing. There's a link right there in your podcast app. It's $5 per month to sign up, and every single one of you that does, it really makes a big difference to support the show, and I totally appreciate it. Thank you guys again. I appreciate you all, and we'll see you next time.
Shake it up, stop when the clock hits 13. Sing 1, 2, 3, 4. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it.